Let's get started. All right, so hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Rachel and I'm the marketing manager for Asia Pacific here at Acquia. So today's presentation is called Now You Have a CDP Ready. What's next? So just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. If you have questions for us, we are saving time at the end. So please be sure to use the Q&A or chat windows to submit your questions and we'll bring them up at the end. So this presentation is being recorded and we'll share it with you at the end of the session. We have with us today Phil Koo, our Marketing Cloud Director for Asia Pacific. Phil has over 2 decades of experience working with global businesses, helping them leverage digital technology to grow revenue, reduce costs, and drive customer engagement. He's passionate about making organizations more customer and data-centric through embedding data-driven personalization, experimentation, and human-centered design. So without further ado, I'll pass it over to Phil. All right, Phil, take it away.
Thanks, Rachel, and hello, everybody, and thank you again for joining us here at Acquia's webinar series around CDP. I'm really excited to bring you some examples today in terms of practical outcomes of CDP. And I'd just like to recap a couple of things. So in our last few sessions, we covered on a couple of topics. So really, what was the first step in building a practical customer data integration plan and strategy? How to unify all your data from different sources to get a really good 360-degree view of the customer, and how to deliver those relevant, useful experiences based on customer data at scale. So today, what I'd like to do is take you through some real-world examples of some Acquia customers and what results they've achieved, and also talk through some of the practical examples of the actual implementation of CDP. So. Without further ado, I'll just recap. This is the part 4 of a 4-part series regarding CDP. And so today I'll just sort of recap for those of you who weren't on some of our previous webinars, what we covered off. I won't spend too long on that, but just to bring people up to speed. So, the first thing really is that last time we focused on, one of these key data points, which is that over 90% of executives surveyed are really not confident that they're really leveraging the data they have available. So what they're really doing is this is preventing them from achieving their business potential. So as business becomes increasingly complex, it becomes more and more difficult to leverage every customer interaction because as the channels become bigger and broader, online, offline, automated, in-person channels, to gain access to that data becomes incredibly difficult. So as you'll see from the text up here, Forbes research showed that there was a very, very high number of executives who show that they're not confident. Now, over the course of this webinar series, we've talked through, how the fragmentation of customer engagement and transactions channels makes it a lot harder to build this robust customer view. And look, limited integrations between some of the key operating platforms help, but these things are growing very, very quickly. The pace of change required to deliver the business results often ends up in data in different systems and different channels and different departments, and most organizations that I've worked for have this challenge in some way, shape or form. And obviously larger organizations, particularly organizations with global scale, they definitely have a number of issues in terms of their ability to build 360 customer views. So unfortunately, if you can't do that without those insights, then it's really, really difficult to connect with customers in an engaging and an effective way. And as we covered off last time, the knock-on effect of this is really poor customer experience. So today's customers have super high expectations. We all use global platforms like Airbnb and Facebook and Uber and Netflix. So that's kind of set the standard of customer experience that we as consumers expect, and arguably what we as marketeers or people working in digital technology should be trying to deliver to our customers. So this leads to the knock-on effect as far as the actual business outcomes being reduced revenue, poor conversion and low customer satisfaction. So organizations first need to really understand what and how data needs to be ingested into the system to effectively use the customer data platform. So previously we discussed how developing point-to-point integrations between various systems like POS and e-commerce, email, websites and call centers can help, but we also discussed some of the challenges of these point-to-point integrations being from an architectural perspective, it really creates a spaghetti architecture. So of course, the more moving parts that you have, the more complex it is to maintain those moving parts, and increases the risk. It can also create a fragmented customer experience. So if you don't have a single customer view and ingesting all of the customer interaction data, then for example, if a customer calls up a call center and that isn't captured in retail, then the retail people won't have any visibility of that customer's previous experience across that different channel. And of course, security and governance is also becomes increasingly complex. So with the customer data platform, marketing teams can actually drive customer engagement based on a much richer 360-degree view of customer interactions. And we talked through last time, some of the key components of the of CDP, in our view, being definitely a strong integration framework, an open integration framework, which makes it easy to ingest data from the types of systems, POS, e-commerce, email, call centers, and websites, etc. But also make that data available to channels of engagement. So, personalizations on websites, as an example, personalizations within mobile apps, outbound marketing, and both online and offline, and digital advertising. So, that's the integration framework, which is critically important. And then on top of that, it's really looking at things like the identity resolution engine. So once you get different interactions from the different channels, working with that data to fully understand, when a single customer is interacting across multiple channels, perhaps using different email addresses, or perhaps using a slightly different name, having the intelligence within the platform to pull those records together to create that unified customer data profile. And then finally, you would talk through around the machine learning framework. So once that data is available, and once you have a deduped and a very clean data record for the customer, which understands all of the different interactions, you need some intelligence in the platform, like with machine learning, so it can start to build those models, build really rich intelligent segments, and build propensity models. So that they're really the key components that we covered off last time. And I guess how that looks, and this is only one example of how this could look, but how this looks in real life. You might have a different data sources from different platform providers. So SAP or Commerce Cloud or other similar flavors of technology might be bringing in transactional data, might be bringing in organizational data, might be bringing in customer records. And then on the customer interaction side, you can be looking at things like digital tags from something like Google Tag Manager, so Google Analytics tags, tags which are available from on your mobile app, email interactions, social interactions. They're the kind of interactions that can also be fed into the CDP. As well as that, you can actually append third-party data from the likes of Experian. So bringing in that rich third-party data, and then making all of that data available using the CDP to the activation channel. So things like the we have Acquia Campaign Studio. Other organizations are using things like Marketo or other forms of interaction technology, and then digital advertising. So of course across social campaigns, but also remarketing using platforms like Criteo, and then sort of feeding that also if needed into whatever version of BI tools that the organization's using. So I guess as a summary, that's the underlying architecture of how a CDP works. That's kind of brought us up to speed, hopefully very quickly, with what's been covered off in the previous sessions, and today I'd like to go into a little bit more detail and again take you through some practical examples of what this actually means from a business results perspective. So before we talk through some of these real world use cases of CDP, just like to have a quick look at the concept of customer lifetime value. So every marketeer has the challenge and the opportunity to grow customer lifetime value and also reduce the cost of marketing. So the overall objectives are to increase customer lifetime value, which means, I guess if you start looking at, I'll start by explaining actually, customer lifetime value. There's a number of ways of calculating that, but essentially it's the average transaction value times the annual purchase frequency and times the number of years the customer is expected to be with the business. So in a I guess a real world example, if you look at something like a relationship you might have with your utility provider, say, for example, your mobile provider, you might be paying them a certain amount per month for internet or for mobile services, and they know that the average customer lasts for however long it might be, 5 years or 4 years, and they know that you pay them, maybe $50 a month, and that's kind of how they work on the LTV. So the goal here is to increase the LTV, the customer lifetime value, and also reduce the marketing costs at the same time. So there's a number of levers that we can pull to do that. So I'll just talk through those very briefly. So first of all, to improve the customer LTV, you need to create a brand which is differentiated. So that increases the value of the product or services by really clearly communicating that value of your specific brand as opposed to your competitors. You need to acquire new customers, so to continually grow the customer base. You also need to increase the frequency and number of purchases, and that means reducing the time to the next purchase. So in many cases, the cost of acquisition is quite high. So in order to repay that cost of acquisition, you need to actually, that won't necessarily be paid by the first purchase. So you need to really focus on getting the customer to purchase frequently. And then finally, with retention, it's really important to retain the customers for as long as possible, because obviously the longer that you have the customers, the higher the customer LTV will be. And then if we look at marketing costs, so reducing costs of marketing is always a challenge. It's often marketing teams are looking for more budget as opposed to less. But to reduce marketing costs, using data and analytics really smartly to increase the effectiveness of marketing and promotion activities is key here. So as we talk through these use cases and some of these examples, you'll see how this relates to these two concepts of increasing customer lifetime value and reducing the overall cost of marketing. So look, a lot of attention in terms of marketing is on acquisition, but something that we covered off previously is actually that the real value of a CDP is actually maximizing the lifetime value of the customers, but this is throughout the customer life cycle. So as I mentioned, during acquisition, you can use CDP to acquire customers at a lower cost, which can free up advertising budget for new campaigns or arguably for other different promotional activities. And then once the customers are onboarded, you can increase your engagement through personalization to improve the overall customer experience. And this helps differentiate the brand. So we talked around, differentiating the brand, and a better customer experience is one of the key differentiators for brands. Looking to grow revenue, a CDP can help target effective offers and product recommendations, which are really relevant to your customers that can help maximize profitability. And with the CDP, it's important to remember that you're not actually limited to just digital interactions. So today we'll be talking through a few examples to show the range of use cases for CDP across different channels, and this includes both online and offline channels. So the first example I'd like to take everybody through today is a Turkish company called Arçelik. And what we're going to do here is just talk through how CDP helped them drive customer engagement across offline channels. So call center, we'll focus on call center in this example, and in other examples, we'll focus on a couple of different use cases, but a little bit of background. So it's a Turkish company. They are a multinational white goods manufacturer and retailer. They have multiple brands. They operate in more than 30 countries. They're actually Europe's 4th largest white goods company in total sales. And in Asia, it will be, I guess, equivalent brands would be something like Fisher and Paykel, those kind of white goods, large-scale white goods manufacturers. They have around 30,000 employees. So they operate a B2B2C model and also a B2C model, but they have a number of different channels. So they have independent dealers, they have authorized technical service providers, and they have their own company-owned stores and service centers. So you can see already that they have various data endpoints, they have siloed customer data, and this makes getting that single customer view really difficult. So when we started working with them, we quickly saw that they had duplicate customer records across their business. And of course, what they wanted was they wanted to have a platform that would help them provide meaningful, actionable insights and that full view of the customer. So what Acquia CDP enabled them to do was to recognize new customer records from any data endpoint, and that includes inbound and outbound call centers, in-store customer kiosks, social media, physical POS systems, e-commerce platforms, and more. This in turn allowed the marketers, sales teams, support representatives, and others to really understand the customers and then actually create multi-step cross-functional campaign flows. And look, talking specifically around call center interactions, personalized call center experience is really important to CX, because this really shows that the business respects customers' time by having valuable personalized information available at the fingertips. So if you have a poor digital experience, if you've got halfway through an order, if you've created an order and it hasn't appeared, if you have some other challenge in terms of a customer self-service portal and you call up the call center and they have no clue what you're talking about and you have to explain yourself again, obviously this is a very poor customer experience. So having personalized customer experiences in call centers has a number of key benefits. And you can reduce the call length because it doesn't take so long to actually find the information about the customer. As I said, you'll get better CX, which will lead to better net promoter scores. It can actually also have a dramatic effect on conversion and revenue, and decrease that risk of customers churning away. And why? I mean, there's one key reason why call center interactions are a very, very important component of overall CX, and that's because they're live, they're in real time, and they're actually often when a customer has an issue or a complicated request that can't be handled directly via a digital channel, then that's usually what happens. So customers will often get to a certain point in either a sales or service journey in digital channels, and then for whatever reason they can't proceed, so they call up the call center. And according to research, customers are also willing to spend significantly more with companies that offer that degree of excellent customer service. So a little bit of background to that, and then now I'll just sort of talk through how this worked for Archerlix. So they're running a Salesforce call center system, which is integrated with Acquia CDP through our 360 Profiler API. We actually empower the agents to have tailor-made conversations with next best offer recommendations. And because of all the data points from the customer's name and demographics through to their products, their service history, and their answer to some key questions, like if they're expected to buy a product in the next 6 months, all of these data points were actually reflected on the dashboard and on the in-call script. So that means the agents are able to provide a combination of products with a very high likelihood of conversion. And then we combine that with Acquia's CDP machine learning model, so they were offering the most relevant products for each respective customer while on these support calls. So there's an opportunity, of course, with every support call to upsell, cross-sell customer, and they found this a very, very effective ways of doing that. And you can see in the screen there that you can see these fields. These fields are dynamically populated through CDP. And what Archerlix did with it was very clever. They when they asked the customer a question around would you consider buying an electronic product within the next 6 months, depending on the outcome of that question in call center, it would automatically trigger an automated campaign that they call quick wins to the customer's outbound call center team. So it's a kind of inbound outbound integration, but again having CDP at the core of that. So what are the results? So since deploying Acquia CDP, they've realized some really exciting results. So conversion rates have reached up to 24% for the automated daily quick wins campaigns. They use CDP to create SMS audiences, and they're using the likelihood to buy machine learning model. This conversion rates have improved on the SMS channel up to 6 times. And Acquia's CDP identity resolution engine, deduplicated the record. So they started with 250 million customer records, and that actually came down after deduplication and identity resolution to 60 million actionable customer entities. So the next example I'd like to chat through would be a company called Godiva. So They wanted to better connect their experience between the retail stores, bricks and mortar, to digital presence. Probably a number of you are familiar with Godiva. They're a chocolatier, global leader in premium chocolates. The company was founded in Brussels in 1926, and they have distribution in more than 100 countries now. So what their goal was to create a premium experience, regardless as to whether their customers are visiting in-store, shopping the website, accessing the app, or whatever. In 2019, they decided to replace their previous CRM vendor. And what they were looking to do was really extend those capabilities of CRM to a CDP. They recognized that their CRM solution offered data collection and some audience management capabilities, but they needed a lot more. So they really wanted the strong identity resolution. They wanted to build that 360 degree of the customer, but also they wanted to build really effective dashboards, which enabled them to have ad hoc inquiries, analytical insights, develop machine learning, leading to advanced customer segmentation and, of course, personalization. They were keen to step up their marketing campaigns, and they wanted to answer questions like, what was the best way to gather insights that would drive optimization of its media and its outbound marketing, or what content messaging and others offers would be most effective at driving sales. So they explored new possibilities, and they were in the middle of this kind of digital transformation and rethinking through this. And then of course, in the middle of that, the COVID-19 pandemic happened. So while they're in the middle of their digital transformation, Godiva had to close all of their chocolate boutiques and cafes in North America as a response, which was very, very disruptive. And the effect of that was it really meant, virtually overnight, like a lot of organizations, they had to supercharge their e-commerce presence and operations to meet, consumer demand. And ultimately, their e-commerce site at that time or during the pandemic has become their main direct-to-consumer revenue channel. So look, the results here again been very, very impressive. They've doubled their email open rates. They've tripled their email click-through rates among boutique-only shoppers. They've increased their return on advertising spend by a staggering 621%, based on retargeting customers for a Mother's Day campaign. They've also identified the best acquisition products, resulting in one of the brand's most successful Instagram posts. So we haven't talked a lot about social, but definitely CDP has a massive role to play in terms of driving effective social campaigns. Again, using that underlying intelligence within the platform to make sure that money isn't being wasted in social campaigns. And also they Godiva really capitalized on the agility needed to move to the e-commerce sales-centric model when COVID hit. So a lot of organizations are going through this transformation right now, looking at the future, thinking around, what does e-commerce mean for us? How should we be investing in our digital customer experience? And then they start looking under the covers and seeing that with their data sitting in different silos, it's actually becoming quite difficult to make that joined up customer experience. So the next example I'd like to walk through is a much newer brand. It's Lululemon. So now they're a very well recognized brand, Lululemon in athletics, but they were founded in 1998 in Canada. Currently, they're competing with top fitness brands, I guess, like Adidas, New Balance, Nike, and Puma. But the difference here is that when they were founded, they really wanted to serve as a community hub for people who are interested in healthy living and mindfulness, and that became, well, it still is, part of their core DNA. So originally they were focused on things like yoga pants, other yoga wear, but now they've expanded their product line significantly to include lifestyle apparel, performance shirts, yoga accessories, and general clothing. They have a very successful e-commerce website. They also operate 460 stores across the globe. So, as I said, Lulu's focus has been on, creating this community hub that allowed it to establish very, very strong relationships with its customers, which are more than just transactional. So during these years, they actually generated an enormous amount of data, but it was siloed by different communities in which they operated and different regional stores. And the key thing here was that their digital engagement and function and their data collection function was operating in completely different silos. So the exec team there, they realized they needed to unify all their customer intelligence to be able to orchestrate those experiences across both physical and digital channels. And the company also wanted to use the data is to start thinking about, what was going to happen in the future, gaining insights into the customer propensities and opportunities, and creating better segments for, to create better results across those audiences. And Lululemon partnered with us, with Acquia, using the Acquia CDP to create the customer data into a single location. Now, the results again are highly impressive here. They increased their site visits by up to 50%. They increased attendance to local events by 25%. And they achieved, between 10 and 15% increase in baseline revenue from digital marketing campaigns. So, virtually overnight, once they had ingested the data, and once they had made that data available to the activation channels, they saw that immediate uplift. The other thing that they were doing was, looking at tailoring in-person and online campaigns using this 360-degree view of the customer. So, for example, they would be able to figure out whether a customer's preferred activity was running or whether it was indoor cycling, and they'll be able to see if a customer took advantage of a in-store yoga session, and then they could target each consumer with very customized and personalized online, offline marketing campaigns, which included, direct mail and actually tailored in-store experiences. So this was something that we talked through earlier as well. But this is an example of creating this connected data ecosystem to deliver these kind of experiences, which are seamless across different devices, which are seamless across our own customer journey through the life cycle with a brand. And this creates these experiences really understand us, make it easy to do business with the organization, and also provide those surprise and delight moments, because it anticipates actually what we're likely to be wanting. And the key here is to understanding customer behavior, understanding their sentiment, how they're feeling, and their intent. And to do this properly, you really need to be able to overlay that data from every customer interaction across every customer touch point. Now, this one here is Lids. So Lids is another fantastic example of a CDP, which they're using to enhance a loyalty program. So many organizations today have loyalty programs. Loyalty programs can be incredibly effective. We're all part of loyalty programs generally, and for the brands that we love. Lids is a leading headwear retailer, so they're making sportswear, they're making caps. They're known for kind of unique styles. They're very popular. They have nearly 1,200 stores in the US and Canada. The majority of these operate in shopping malls. They have a massive selection of brands, and they also do customizations. So they have a very successful loyalty program. It's called Access Pass. It has 2 levels. So they have a free level, and they have a premium level with certain benefits. But both of them provide members with access to discounts and incentives. Again, when we started working with Lids, we saw that duplicate members were rampant, and actually the Lids knew very little about their loyalty program, the behavior of their loyalty program members. So again, affected by COVID, COVID reduced in-store visitation. And prior to COVID, they had over 85% of their revenue coming from stores. So Lids quickly needed a way to unify their store and e-commerce data and understand the behavior across online and offline channels. So what they wanted to know were questions like how often were the customers shopping? Were they buying in store? Were they buying online? Were they buying in both channels? Did they show an affinity for a particular sports team? And answering these questions helps them really create those meaningful segments for targeted marketing. So yeah, Lids needed a solution that even non-technical teams could use to find answers to these questions. And that's a key point that a lot of people talk around, sort of democratization of data, which means that making data available to, not just data scientists or people who work in BI team, but, making that data available very quickly in real time to marketeers, to people who are working in sales, to people who are working in call centers. So, that was one of the benefits that Lids really enjoyed. And again, they ultimately chose Acquia CDP for its the ability to give those deep retail insights, and also actually a very intuitive interface, so that we could the other members of the team who are outside of BI, who are in marketing, could actually get the benefits of visualization of that data. Now, immediately the CDP cleansed the data and standardized the data, and that saw a 53 million records reduced to 25 million marketable master guest records. And you can see for an organization, if you think you're working with 53 million customers, but in fact you're working with 25 million after duplication, that makes a massive difference to your marketing strategy. So the kind of data points that LIDS were using there were things like, how many customers were buying from the LIDS website, those trends in the buying behavior, trends by store location, looking at team audiences, looking at trending styles, looking at fashion audiences versus fans, looking at things like gender and coupon users, and overlaying that data with other digital interactions, transactional data, to build out a customer 360 view and very, very strong segments. So the LIDS marketing team then used all the segments and targeting email, paid digital, and also leveraged the customer database to create lookalike audiences for prospecting on social. So after they've been with 3 years with Acquia, and the key here is that, generally globally, mall traffic has been down, but using these techniques of driving, using digital interaction, digital channels to drive customers in store, they've actually seen a positive year-on-year traffic using Acquia CDP powered strategies. And the insights that Acquia CDP has provided have led to direct revenue increases as well. So in one holiday win-back campaign, LIDS marketeers identified the top 1 million customers and offered them a time-sensitive in-store loyalty reward, which ended up driving an additional 250K in revenue, which is absolutely fantastic. So, we've talked a lot around the business benefits of business outcomes, building customer lifetime value, reducing advertising spend of CDP, but ultimately there are a lot of customer benefits as well, and that's key, because when we're talking about lifetime value, right at the beginning we talked around brand differentiation, and the way that a customer feels about a brand is actually the most important thing. And this is an example of an ideal situation where the customer's actually thinking, it's really easy to do business with this organization. They're always sending me things which I find very, very relevant to me. When I did have an issue and I called up call center, I didn't have to explain myself all again. And then when I was kind of halfway through a transaction, an online channel, and then something happened, and for whatever reason I decided to complete that offline, that was a seamless experience as well, because I went into the store and the retail people working in the store said, look, we can see that you've done X or Y, and we're happy to help you complete that journey. So really the goal of CDP is to make that data available wherever it's helpful to the organization, to provide intelligence over top of that data, and to reduce the amount of spend in advertising by creating those intelligent segments, things like lookalike audiences, and making sure that all of that marketing spend is being used very, very wisely. So ultimately, customers become your advocates. It's great for brand loyalty. It's great to grow your revenue base, and as consumers, we enjoy those kind of streamlined experiences that those leading platforms like Amazon, Apple, and Spotify and Netflix are providing us. So one of the key things, and a few of the questions we had from last section, was kind of how to get started and what that looks like. And I guess my advice here would be you have to be realistic about your organization's level of digital maturity, and the advice here is to start small. So definitely start with some achievable, measurable use cases, and also start with use cases which are easy to explain internally. So CDP is a transformational capability. It's not tactical. It's something which actually requires a little bit of a mindset shift in terms of how you will do marketing in future, how you will create your segments, how you will start to understand your customers, how you will target your advertising spend. And these concepts take sometimes some time to get across the organization. So start with something small where you can show value quickly, build the engagement, build the excitement with the organization. The reality is that most organizations have a lot of data. They have large pools of siloed data. So there are generally massively opportunities, but look at the low hanging fruit in terms of time and value. What can you do within the next 6 months? What can you pilot? Pick a couple of data sources that have APIs available, or that where you can get data dumps from relatively easily. And also think about different execution channels. So it's not just about the web, it's also about the mobile app, it's also about call center and in-store. So, think about, how can you empower your call centers, as we talked through in the Archlick example, to create, more personalized experiences. What data points are they currently missing? What would add to that experience? What would revenue potentially look like if, you could provide, next best offer, next best action, or product recommendations as part of that, that channel engagement. But in fact, many of our customers just start their engagement with something really straightforward, like outbound marketing use cases, looking at how they can improve their email open and click rates, setting up some trigger campaigns, and setting up engagement from direct mail initiatives. So I guess in summary, and there are a number of key points here, but to wrap it up, the real value in CDP is to remove the data silos across your organization, to create this clean and holistic data set for execution channels. And it's not just limited to digital channel engagement. It does apply across call center. It does apply across retail. It does apply across direct mail and catalog. So CDP is fundamentally channel agnostic. It is a digital platform, but it does enable increased revenue, increased profitability, and reduce spend across many different channels, both online and offline. And CDP allows different stakeholders across the business access to data that they just didn't have before, or maybe they did have it, but it would take a request to a BI team or an analytics team, and that would have to be prioritized and come back 2 weeks later. So it actually dramatically reduces the time to make those requests. And in fact, the analytics dashboards enable, through the UI, marketing teams of all levels to access that data in real time. So there are real benefits for both business and customers. The key components of CDP, as we've talked through, are this open integration framework. If you're not dealing with the CDP that has this open integration, then it's really, really hard work. Identity resolution is key. So the ability to look at a number of interactions and resolve, who that customer is, not just exact matching. If you look into CDP, the Acquia CDP, there are some very, very smart ways that they're stitching together these records to identify who that customer is. And again, start small, get a few use cases, keep it simple, and scale from there. Now, I guess, to wrap up, and again, thank you very much for joining us. If you'd like to learn more about Acquia's OpenDXP, including Acquia Drupal Cloud, which helps organizations, build, design, and run Drupal sites and applications and manage their content, or Acquia Marketing Cloud, which is, my specialist area of expertise, around helping drive these personalizations and helping customer engagement across multiple channels and building up that unified customer view. Please do reach out to myself or to Rachel. And thank you very much for joining the webinar today, and we look forward to speaking soon. So over to you. Thank you, Rachel.
All right. Thank you, Phil. Thank you for the insightful session that you covered earlier. So if there's any questions that you might have for us, you can actually use the Q&A or chat button to send it across to us. Okay. So this recording and the slides that Phil has presented will be sent to you via an email, and also will be put up on our website. So please be sure to look out for that. So other than that, thank you so much for your time to attend this webinar today. So we will see you guys soon. All right. Thank you again for your time. See ya. Bye.